What do Falcons do? Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, coming back to you with our Thursday night football recap. And what a freaking disaster that game was. So first off, weather was not in our favor. It was not a particularly good game from that perspective. So weather was kind of bad for the most part, and that certainly changed the game plan around a little bit. There was a lot of commentary that I was seeing last night on Facebook, on the various Falcons group pages that I'm on, which pretty early on were mirroring one of the sentiments that I have been saying for weeks now, in spite of a winning culture that we are creating, and regarding Marcus Mariota. He has been a fine stopgap quarterback. He has continued to prove why he is not the answer for us as a long-term solution. When we get into a gunslinging match where we need to throw the ball, where we need to make these big plays to come back, he just ain't the guy. It's just not him. 13-3 last night. I put a short out last night, and I was ready to see Ridder. I'm done with Mariota at this point. I'm ready to see Ridder. We know what Mariota can do. He had a much better second half. He came out altogether 19 for 30, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a god-awful interception, like truly god-awful interception that ended up turning into points for the Carolina Panthers early in the third. I think it was the third quarter. I'm trying to remember exactly when, but it was bad. I don't know what else to say about him. He was our leading rusher as well. He did have a long of 26 yards, but that's his only value to our team right now, is that he can use his legs to get out of a bad situation. He can't complete a pass, though, for anything significant. Damiere Byrd had the longest catch of the game for 21 yards. I will say this, I have not said this yet. Damiere Byrd looks like our most dynamic receiver. He's had a lot of good plays for us, and he honestly looks like the most dynamic guy out there. Drake London got another touchdown. That's his third of the year. Cotterill Hodge got one late in the game. Olamide had a couple of good catches for us. Kyle Pitts, once again, targeted 8 times, only gets 2 receptions, and I would argue that a lot of those are on Mariota. They're not on Pitts to come down with. They are bad throws by our quarterback. So, Deonta Foreman, also a guy that used to be on our roster before going to Tennessee. We let him go a while back because we didn't see the diamond in the rough they had. I will say this. We kept P.J. Walker down to next to nothing. P.J. Walker was held fairly in check. He only had 101 yards. Pretty good overall. We did get a sack on him. Mariota got sacked 5 freaking times, so that just tells you what kind of offensive line play we got. But, again, we did keep him to fairly low yardage overall. The Laviska Shenault run was an absolute, it's technically a run because it was behind the line of scrimmage it was behind the quarterback when he threw it. But that was, for the most part, a screen play, screen pass. Rashaan Evans got taken out by whoever the heck the safety was. I don't even know who it was because I was so disgusted at that point. Rashaan Evans was catching him. He was on his way to catching him, and just poor communication. They take each other out, and there's nobody left to stop him. So Laviska Shenault gets a touchdown early in that game that really, honestly, that put it out of reach from the very get-go. We did manage to get a touchdown in the third quarter. Managed to make it 13-9 because Younghoe Koo missed. Again, uncharacteristic. He's had a few in a row that have been uncharacteristically bad at this point. For his kicks, I don't know what's going on with him either. This was not a good game for us. There's not a lot that I can say that was done well. Rashaan Evans is leading our linebacking core here. Arnold Ebiketie, I feel it's funny. I called that Arnold Ebiketie on one of the posts would get a sack tonight. He got a half sack, so didn't come till later in the game, but he did get a half sack on him. So I'm glad to see him actually have some production here. I don't know what the deal is here. D. Alford. I'm pretty sure it was D. Alford. No, Darren Hall, the corner. That's who it was. Darren Hall, number 34, on one of the first drives that Carolina has in the game where we did force them into a field goal situation. My God, dude, the ball in the end zone hits you in the hands. I don't know how you don't catch that ball. You're looking at it the entire way. It's right freaking here in your chest, hands on it, and you let a solid pick that would have put us on the 25-yard line because it was in the end zone. You let a solid pick fall. You prevented a touchdown. I will give you that. But you let a solid pick fall. And earlier in that same drive, you let fracking Moore get behind you for a big play. We need our corners back. We need them back badly. A.J. Terrell, Casey Hayward, you guys have 10 days to recover. Casey Hayward is still on IR. I'm hoping he will make a comeback here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We desperately need A.J. Terrell back. Because we're getting beat up through the air without him. We were getting beat up already. We're getting beat up even more on big plays, on costly plays without him. Fenton, I think is his name. He didn't have a huge impact in the game. The guy that we traded for at the trade deadline with the Kansas City Chiefs. Hard to come in as a corner in a new scheme in basically 10 days and be impactful. I'm glad he was out there. I'm glad we had some depth and he made 4 tackles or 4 total tackles altogether, but he got beat on a couple of plays. I'm disappointed. This is an incredibly disappointing week. Carolina, after looking like absolute horse crap against the Bengals, looked very beatable. The Falcons still didn't look terrible against the Chargers, but had costly mistakes. I'm going to say it again. It's Ridder time. Tampa Bay is firmly in the number 1 position right now. I do think they're probably going to win. If this is the way we play, this is the way that I expected us to play for most of the year, was with this level of ineptitude. That's how I expected us to play. I've been pleasantly surprised that we haven't, and that we've been better than that. And it's shown that we are building a better culture, but this is the crap that makes me think that we are still far away from where we need to be. This is a game that they're going to want back later down the road when we're facing a tight divisional race in the final weeks of the season. We still are in the middle of what I would call the easiest stretch of our season. We have now what I would call in 10 days a relatively tough game against the Bears. They are finding ways to move the ball with Justin Fields, whereas in the first 5 weeks of the season they were god-awful. They have found a way to turn some of that around. It just hasn't translated into wins yet. We do get them at home, so I'm hopeful that that will be in our favor and that maybe that will go poorly for Justin Fields. However, he has played numerous times in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so that's not necessarily going to be a hostile environment to him. Then, again, right after that, Thanksgiving weekend, we go to the Washington Commies. That field's already starting to look a little bit like garbage, and I expect us to have injuries after that game because that's just what happens at FedEx Field in November. You end up with injuries. Then we get the Steelers at home, still a winnable game. All 3 of these games coming up are winnable. That's the thing. They're winnable, but they are certainly not winnable playing the type of football we just played. At the Saints, hard as heck game. That's significantly less winnable the way we're playing football. Ravens probably not going to win that game. Cardinals winnable, but if they're a team that we probably will lose to playing this type of football, then we get the Bucs at home. Again, winnable game. Every game we have left on the schedule is winnable if we go back to playing like we did. And the run game was terrible last night. Let's not forget that. The run game was absolutely god-awful. We had a grand total last night of, where was it? 138 yards, but we've been averaging, in our wins, we've been averaging closer to 180 to 200 yards. So they shut us down pretty effectively in the first half. There wasn't a single running back that looked like they were the clear-cut answer for us on the ground yesterday. I don't know. I know I'm rambling through this video. I'm tired from staying up and watching it last night. I'm disappointed in the overall play by the Falcons. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch a college team that I pulled for my entire life in the Georgia Bulldogs play what appears to be incredibly competent football at a higher level than a professional team. Now, I know if we took the Georgia Bulldogs and put them against any NFL team, they probably would get beat pretty soundly. But it's incredibly difficult to watch the parity in the two Georgia teams, even though they're different divisions. Watching Georgia just absolutely be dominant and watching the Falcons, quite frankly, be absolute dog shit. I don't have any other words for it. That's kind of how they're playing right now. But again, we will rise up. But it is truly Ridder time. Let's see what we've got. It is midway through the season. We are 4-6. Our bye week is not until week 14. If we wait until the bye week to play him, then we only have, we'll have 13 games. We'll only have 4 games left at that point to see what we've got in him, and they're not particularly easy games. Put him in now in situations that are potentially going to be a little bit easier for him to maneuver, easier for him to play in. The next 3 games we have are the easiest ones we have on the schedule left, and they're not. I mean, it's a professional football team. They're still not super easy, but it's the easiest games that we have left. Let him play. Let him see what he can do against competition. Let Ridder play. It's the only way we're going to see what we have in him and know if we need to be looking quarterback for either the draft or most likely for free agency, because we probably have blown the tanking possibility at this point. We would have to lose every single game going forward to have a top 5 draft pick at this point. And I just don't see us doing that. We're playing too competently overall for that to happen. This was a bad week. We will bounce back. I am hopeful for us. We're probably not going to the playoffs after a loss to Carolina like this. But guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I know you're as disappointed as I am about this one, unless you're a Carolina fan, which you guys played your absolute butts off last night. So, Donta Foreman, congratulations, a great player. You guys have got a beast in him. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Consider liking the video, subscribe. It'll help the channel grow and help me reach more people. But until next time, guys, I'm an incredibly disappointed Falcons fan, but as always, I'm a loyal, true fan to the end, and rise up.